Well, and that's, this is a conversation I had with the Marvin brother-in-law, because they take grant monies, that if you're going to North on Main, there's a big overpass bike trail thing.
Yeah.
That was all federal grant money.
Yeah.
And there was no bike trail there when they first built it. Then they built a bike trail to use it. Okay. But you're sitting there going, okay, you built a bridge to nowhere. Well, we're planning on it. Well, build the trail and then build the bridge. Well, we had grant money now. Well, what would happen? Well, it would have gone back to wherever and somebody else would have got it. Maybe they needed a bridge.
Call to order the city council meeting of September 7th, 2023. Kim, would you take roll call, please?
Councilmember Schroeder.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Hatton.
Here.
Mayor Bischoff.
Here. If you would all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? We have two matters on the consent agenda. Approve the monthly claims and the June 29th, 2023 City Council meeting minutes. And is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And I take it, Kim, that public comments is not the public hearing? That's
Correct.
Okay. So moving on to 4.
I will just ask if anyone here had just generic public comments, not referring to the agenda item,
Okay.
for the public hearings, and that would be now,
Okay.
if anyone does.
Is that for the conditional use?
No.
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 this is-
Okay.
okay.
Does anybody have anything else to say? Yes. Anybody that's going to say something, appreciate it if you'd keep the remarks somewhat short, and if it's a repeat of what everybody else is saying, make it even shorter. And you need to sign in with your address. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Council. Really appreciate what the city was able to do for doing the cleanup after our winter fund storms, and I appreciate doing that, and I know it cost the city a fair amount of money to make that happen. Does our budget for next year allow us to replenish the funds that were used for that purpose?
May I get your name and address, please?
Yep, Dennis Lund, 16555 First Street South.
Well, it's my understanding that,
706 again.
to answer your question as to whether or not we're going to get a portion of the approximately $18,000 we spent in the cleanup, it's my understanding that we're supposed to. But we've heard very little since we've submitted the necessary paperwork in order to qualify for that reimbursement. And when we do, I'm sure it'll be noted on our website, but, you know, we're expecting it, okay? And I honestly, Kim, I can't remember whether it was, you're supposed to get 2/3 or 3/4 of what it was that you spent in return.
Well, that's, Mr. Mayor, that is in fact the correct topic, but what I'm wondering is, if that money doesn't come through, do we have a sufficient reserve to be able to take care of a similar event in the future?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any public comments? Yep.
Thank you for the time. My name is Andy Bulow. I live at 127 Quinlan Avenue. I do snow removal for a living. I would just like to maybe look at the books, and I know what is going on with the snow removal, and it's not very good. and I would love to give you guys a bid sometime or talk to you further down the road about that. Snow removal, what they do is coming in, using a loader, coming back again, using another machine. There's no reason why we should be double paying and using multiple different vehicles when you can do it with one simple thing. So that's just a comment that I just wanted to make. Thank you for your time.
Any other public comments? Moving on to unfinished and new business, we have A is consideration of resolution number 2023-06, the 2024 preliminary budget. Is there a motion to approve that?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2023-06 to 2024 preliminary budget.
Is there a second?
I will second that motion for a total of 189,770, I believe.
And is there any discussion? Just for the information of those that are here, the budget amount is going up approximately $9,000 for next year, which gives us a little bit of a leeway, a little bit of a cushion in case we have other emergencies or things that we don't expect happening. All in favor of resolution 2023-06, 2024 preliminary budget? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? B, under unfinished and new business, consideration of resolution number 2023-07, the 2024 preliminary levy. Is there a motion to approve that levy amount?
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution 2023-07 for the levy of 189,270 in
I'll
total amount.
second the motion.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? We are at C of the unfinished and new business, and this is the public hearing, consideration of ordinance number 2023-01, interim moratorium for adult cannabis sales. Since we are opening the public hearing at this time, those that wish to speak on this particular matter, feel free to approach the, and give her name and address.
Mayor and council members,
Yep.
I just would first like to interject and say that what before you is a moratorium on the adult cannabis, what the state legislature just approved. They also gave the authority for all cities to put in a moratorium to develop ordinances relating to the sale of that product.
Right. And this is basically the sale of marijuana, as most of us think of it.
Adult cannabis,
Yes,
yes.
Okay. That was approved by our legislature in 2023.
And will not be allowed until 2025.
Okay. And just for anybody else's information, there are no rules that we've been given of any kind that would describe exactly what are the boundaries, what are the guidelines that we need to go by. So everybody's assuming that we're going to get those sometime in 2024, but when, we're not sure. Yes, your name and address.
Hi, council members, Bishop, Mayor Bishop. My name is Regina Kopeski, and I live at 16601 2nd Street South in Lakeland Shores. I have been a resident of Lakeland Shores for over 30 years. Over the last 30 years, we have welcomed new neighbors and businesses into our community. But the business of cannabis retail sales is not what I want to see next to my home or my neighbors. We are a neighborhood of elderly and families. Our community loves our bike path and uses it year-round. Will our neighbors and children be safe on the bike path and on our streets if we allow this business to come into our small community? We need a family-friendly business to come into Lakeland Shores, not a store where we are worried about the increase in crime and possible violence. We don't know where people may come from to shop at this store. Will my 6 grandkids be safe in the neighborhood along with all the other children? We don't need more cars on our streets. They are in rough shape as it is. We don't want parking on our streets or in front of our homes and yards. I am concerned with the possible increase for crime and additional work for our Washington County Sheriff's Department. They do an outstanding job of patrolling our city. Why would we consider a business like this, even if it's being legal? Cannabis is so new to the state of Minnesota. Many larger communities need to figure many things out with this new law. It is on our daily news with concerns. It is not the right time or place for Lakeland Shores to become an area for cannabis sales. What will the business like this do to our neighborhoods and our home values? Remember, we have 475 young children at our school 1 block away from this business. Our community has welcomed many businesses in our little town, but we do not want cannabis retail store. I love meeting new community businesses and neighbors, but this is not the right fit for the city of Lakeland Shores. Mayor Bischoff and city council members, I want to ask each of you this question. Would you want this business next to your home? Mr. Schroeder, would you like this business next to your home?
No.
Mr. Wilson, would you like this business next to your home?
I can't answer that question because we don't know what that business is yet.
Well, they're trying to get a cannabis
this is
retail
in a-
sale.
No, they're not trying to
That's-
get a cannabis retail sale.
What are they trying to do
They're
then?
trying to do something that's,
The
And-
public hearing right now is
It's not a-
placing a moratorium on adult cannabis businesses, which is not even allowed right now.
Okay. So,
It is confusing, very.
it is, okay, so, okay.
This isn't a going back and forth, this is just for your guys to
Okay,
voice your
so
opinion.
please consider the concerns you hear tonight before issuing a conditional use permit for retail sales of cannabis at the location of 177 St. Croix Trail South, Lakeland Shores. Thank you for listening.
thank you for presenting it.
Thanks, Reggie.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak about the moratorium that we're considering at this time? This is on adult cannabis sale moratorium. It has nothing to do with CBD, vaping, smoking cigarettes, or any other inhaling of products. Okay.
My name's Deb Besaw,
What was the last name, ma'am?
Besaw. And I lived in the community for probably about 40 years. So, I don't own a house, but I live here. And my thing is, first I go down to the Afton Parade, and then they have pole dancing, in the parade, and I got my little grandkids there. And that's not the community that I raised my kids in since I've been here. And then this is, then I see this, and I've only been here 2 times, today and when Billy bought the property. And I remember Billy saying that he was, going to put it up so that, he was going to protect our neighborhood. Well, who is actually filing for this? Is this Billy or is this,
Once again, ma'am, we're dealing with a moratorium on cannabis sales, not the conditional use permit for what is basically considered CBD, okay? And I recognize that some people don't, they're all THC products sort of. But, you know, I think we can answer your questions perhaps in a better way when we're actually on that subject matter as to what the conditional use permit is about. Okay?
Well, you know, I just feel that it's not, you know, the speed limit in my neighborhood, it says 20. And I have a lot of young kids that are probably 16, 17, 18. And they're speeding down that street. Today I go down my street and someone put bumpers, and I think it's the people that live in that neighborhood, put it in the middle of the streets. You know, I just don't want speeding any more than anyone else, and I'm just, you know, not happy with it. And, you know, and the people, I don't even live, I have a friend that lives over there, and I have my daughter's in-laws that live over there. But the thing is, you know, if they're gonna do it, why don't they do it over by the liquor store instead of in the neighborhood?
Thank you very much, ma'am.
Okay.
Anybody else would like to comment on the moratorium for adult use cannabis?
Dennis
Or
Lund
sales.
here again. Yes, specific to the moratorium. Since this is a new area, I looked on the Minnesota League of Cities and asked, looked at their questions on what they were saying. They're thinking there won't be any guidance until January of 2025 on what the city and the businesses can and cannot do. And I really would like to get a moratorium in place so we as a community do not issue some sort of a conditional use permit to a business. That business operates under those terms. The state then later changes the rules, and the city and the business and the state are all mixed up in some sort of a crazy, how do we comply with this, but allow the business to operate. So I'm strongly in favor of a moratorium so we don't sell something we don't give a business a conditional use permit that puts them in a situation to just potentially fail. And then as we look at that conditional use permit for the moratorium, we can study it and come up with a reasonable ordinance for regulating businesses such as cannabis or other products, whatever we choose to include in the ordinance. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else want to talk about the moratorium?
Julie Throne, 16411 Division Street, and I'm in Lakeland. I wasn't going to speak, but the more I thought about it, I have strong feelings about this in Lakeland. I've lived in Lakeland for 60 years. I have a great passion for this St. Croix Valley and for Lakeland, Lakeland Shores, the whole community along here, and what goes in it. I think as a resident that long in the valley, we also live right next to a commercial property. We have for over 20 years, and so I see what happens when you live next to a commercial property, and if that conditional use permit that's put in place works, and it's doable. If it doesn't, it's a nightmare, and we've had some nightmares. So I think with the lack of full information on this issue, I think there's no rush to issue a conditional use permit. And like Dennis said, if it's not complete, it could be hard on the business owner, it could be hard on the residents. And I think a moratorium would be the wise choice for Lakeland Shores.
Thank you. I just want you, and this isn't a back and forth thing, I just want you to be aware of the fact that right at the moment, we're not talking conditional use permit. Okay, we're talking about a moratorium on adult use sale of cannabis or THC products, okay?
Right, but I think to be issuing a conditional use permit, and I know that's down the road, you have to do it wisely, and to do it wisely, I think with you have to have all the information to do that, and so a moratorium would give you that time to get all the information that you need.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak on the moratorium?
My name is Roger Torning. I live at 16554 2nd Street South. I'm right next to the business that you're talking about. And when that last one went through for the car sales, I was told that there was going to be more fence built between my house and that business, and that never happened. And that place has been for sale for quite some time, so I don't really know what's in the mind of the person that owns it. But my question is, we got a grade school, I ditto everything Reggie said. But we got a grade school a block away. This is a small community, and I just feel like not in my small town. If you've seen what's going on in the news and on everywhere else, this is something that's, and then if they get the permit, what's the next thing he's gonna wanna do? I mean, there's no limits, there's no security cameras, I mean, who knows what's gonna be going on over there? So I would like my property taxes to stay at or increase in the value instead of worrying about not even being able to sell my home if there's some kind of a business like that next to me. This is a situation that should be used. Let St. Paul and Minneapolis figure it out first. Why do we have to be the guinea pigs? This is a small town. They can buy that stuff over and right across the bridge. We don't need it. So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so we will close the public hearing on the,
Could we get a motion, please?
what's that?
A motion to close it.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So Kim, at this point, we need to vote on that moratorium, is that correct?
Correct.
So you all have, as far as the city council goes, you do have that moratorium in front of you. You've had an opportunity to peruse it and look at it. And you understand that, well, it's been said several times, so I will keep it brief, that this is concerning the sale of adult use retail sales of cannabis, which involves THC of certain levels. Is there a motion that we adopt the resolution 2023-01, the interim moratorium for adult cannabis sales? Is there a motion for that?
I'll make the motion for the ordinance number 2023-01 and interim ordinance prohibiting the operation of cannabis business in the city.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Is there any discussion?
I guess I have a question, is that this ordinance is to go until January 1st, 2025, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And it's not legal to have that business until January 1st, 2025. Is this redundant, or am I just reading it the wrong way?
It could be a little redundant, but I think that just in general, because of the unknowns, which are all, because
Yes,
we had
I
no
agree.
information, that this is a way that we can study the issue and perhaps as a town come up with, if in fact application was made for that kind of license, whatever kind of license the state describes, for the sale of cannabis, that we would be in a situation in which we have thought about it. We have thought about some of the pluses and minuses, thought about some of the rules we might want to,
Oh, I don't disagree with any of that.
Okay.
I guess my point is that the state says it can't be done until after January 1st. And it's not January 1st, 2025, it's until after that at some point. So the way it's worded is they've even given themselves leeway as to when it can happen. But I guess and I don't have, here's my, one of the things that I've run into is the fact that in general, and I talked to Kim about this briefly, is that cannabis sale is retail, is what it is. And so we would have to do something because we allow retail sales in our commercial lots. It's just part of the deal. It's an approved business. I don't disagree that we have to address some things. I guess the thing is if we want to do that, I think that's fine. But we're doing a moratorium on something and it can't happen until after the same date. Now, I don't see that as a big complaint. I just see it as a bit of redundancy, as I've already mentioned. And, you know, it's not going to happen until after that anyway, one way or the other. I think we have to look at it from the standpoint of how we encapsulate that into CUP appropriate businesses and a lot of things like that. I think that's where the work has to go in at that point. That's just my point of view.
well, I think with this moratorium that, you know, not to repeat myself, but I just think that it'll maybe prompt us to get moving on some thought process.
At least get the skis on, not get out over the tip, but at
We
least.
obviously.
I don't disagree
We
with
can't
any of that.
respond to it, to certain things, broad generalities we can, but we have no idea what the.
Yeah, that's, all we have right now is broad generalities. There's nothing specific.
So is there any further discussion? All those in favor of resolution 2023-01, an interim ordinance prohibiting the operation of cannabis business in the city of Lakeland Shores. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed? With that, it would, did you vote one way or the other?
No, I didn't.
Okay. We have one abstention and three agreeing to the interim ordinance. Moving on to consideration of resolution number 2023-08, summary publication of ordinance number 2023-01.
Mayor and council members, anytime an ordinance is adopted, you need to publish that in the paper, and the resolution before you authorizes a summary publication just to limit expenses.
And is that
I make a
something we-
motion.
Okay.
I make a motion, we approve that 2023, was it 01?
08.
Oh,
08, I'm sorry.
I'll second motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to public hearing on consideration of resolution number 2023-09.
Mayor and council members, if I could briefly go through the staff report
Yeah,
for
good.
not only the council, but for the people that are here
Yep.
tonight.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I don't see it.
It's a staff report.
I got the staff report, okay.
It looks like this.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, there it is. It's on the back end of this list.
Everyone ready?
Yep.
Yep, fire away.
All right, Mayor Mayor and council members, an application came in for retail use in your general business at 177 St. Croix Trail South. The applicant has been advised that this only applies to the sale of cannabis products that were legalized as of 2022, and that do not require a separate permit or license from the state. The city did just adopt an interim ordinance, and will be working on the ordinance for the recreational cannabis that may be available in 2025. We don't know that yet. This went to your consulting planner. She did a review of the application. The application was complete. A public hearing was noticed in the paper. She went through all of the existing site conditions, which no changes to that building or site have been proposed. She noted all the zoning and dimensional standards. She reviewed all of that for the city ordinances. And the application does comply with all the zoning and dimensional standards. She went through the access drive, landscaping, screening, parking, determined no additional parking spots were required. There is a draft condition regarding lighting performance standards, which a plan would have to be submitted for city approval, just to make sure they meet all the city ordinances.
Cut down the Vegas effect.
Yes, exactly. And then, as previously noted, the applicant is proposing to operate a cannabis retail sales business from the subject site. The proposed sales are only for products that were approved for sale as part of the Minnesota HF 4065 bill that was passed over a year ago. The proposed retail operations are not authorized or permitted to sell recreational cannabis or marijuana that meets the definition as passed and approved in the 2023 Minnesota legislative session. The applicant has always been informed and is aware that the approval of this CUP for the legal products will not guarantee their ability to sell recreational cannabis as approved in the latest legislative session. The city has not prepared or adopted an ordinance, and it is unknown where such recreational cannabis locations will be permitted in the city. In addition, with working on that ordinance for the city of Lakeland Shores, the state is also going to come back with requirements, conditions, standards. This is a moving target. It would be foolish to even start working on that ordinance at this point. So, but again, that ordinance has nothing to do with this application that came in for a CUP. Based on the information submitted, staff does recommend approval of the conditional use permit with the conditions, which of course can be amended, added to based on the public's concern. But a draft of those conditions is included. A conditional use permit is included in your packets for review. I will note that the hours of operation were not written in there. The applicant did propose Monday through Friday, operation hours 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Saturday 9 a.m. to 8 p.m., Sunday 10 to 5 p.m., which I believe is very similar to a liquor store. I believe liquor stores close at 5 or 6. And now can be open on Sundays. That's a
Yes.
change in the last, I'm not sure how long.
In our lifetime at some
Yeah.
point.
I will just note that it is in your land use. Retail is an allowed use in your business, their commercial, and just, it does require a conditional use permit. I guess I will also note that the previous CUP that was issued on this property didn't really come to fruition. It was approved, there is a CUP, but he wasn't in there long enough to finish fencing. Certainly,
but-
that would be a condition, could be a condition of approval on this CUP, that fencing does get finished.
I guess the only thing that I question on the last CUP and whether we can carry that forward is the screening between
Oh, this
Yeah.
is entirely new. You can add the conditions
Yeah.
that you want.
Yeah.
Additional screening.
Cause I
fence.
remember Roger saying they'd come down and cut down a bunch of stuff and so.
Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Kim. Let me just see if I get this straight as to, we're obviously, I believe, approving the conditional use permit for this sale of, for lack of a better word, CBD.
Perfect, yeah.
And so at this time, are we approving the hours as well as the screening, as well as the lighting situation?
Mayor and council members, yes, that is all part of the CUP that you would take a look at tonight, yes. There is a draft CUP in there with recommended conditions from the consulting planner. And then we would just, or you would add some conditions if you choose to do so. And the applicant is here if you have any questions. I will also note that the entire packet, the staff report, the application, as it was submitted, was posted on the city's website in the city council packet.
Okay, so let's go through those things that kind of raise a red flag to me. One would be the hours, but let's save that for last since that's the most difficult. You know, I'm concerned somewhat, you know, by the fact that the previous conditional use permit, which I believe was obtained by Billy Kay, you know, that they did not finish the fencing. He certainly had an opportunity to do it, but he obviously didn't get into selling many cars out of the place.
No.
So I think it's important that that fence on the eastern side of the dwelling and parking lot be completed. Much of what is there, as I noticed when I was walking around the neighborhood the other day, deals with shrubbery that tends to lose leaves anyhow, and therefore doesn't provide a whole lot of great coverage or blocking the view from the person who lives next door to it. So I think if nothing else, we need to make sure that that is part of the CUP. Lighting concerns me. There's obviously something in there about lighting being probably more lighting than has presently been used there. And I think some of it results from the fact that it's a cannabis product and that there's some concern about the security of the interior as well as, I suppose, any place else with it, on the property. So I think we need to have some information concerning where the lights are and what type of lights we're dealing with here.
Well, one of the conditions on the draft CUP is a plan and fixture type for security lighting shall be submitted for review and approval by city staff. Such light fixtures must comply with the city's ordinances and may not adversely impact adjacent residential uses. So you already have in your city ordinance standards for lighting. So, and then there was just an additional condition that was added, that the exterior lights not used for security purposes must be turned off within 1 hour after the close of the business as established in the hours of operation.
And I'm assuming that so they're gonna have to come back before you and ask you, Kim, whether or not they're within what the city ordinance allows. Is that correct?
Yes, it's not something that comes before the council, it's just
Okay.
at a staff level.
Okay. And then we're dealing with hours of operation and
Well, Mr. Mayor and council members, can I please just get a little bit more clarification on, you mentioned you want the fence finished?
Yeah,
And where is that fence?
that fence.
It's on the east side.
It's on the
East
east
side.
side, and
Okay.
there is a fence on part of it.
Yeah.
Kind of up to where the building stops, but then the parking lot part of it is. is short-
The
is short.
northeast side is, got the fence, right?
Fence, right,
Yeah,
yep,
back where the drive-through was, kind of
So
back on
just
that side.
continuation,
right.
Continue
end of the
towards,
property.
towards
Right.
to, what is that, Second Street? Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
And then additional screening where? Did you mention
Well,
screening?
well, that would be.
That would be
the
it.
fence.
That's the screen,
that-
okay,
Right, that's
all
the
right.
screening, yep.
So then, yes, you would just need to discuss the hours of operation.
Okay. And I think in their proposal, you've already mentioned what they are envisioning as the hours of operation. Are we, at this time, agreeing to those hours of operation if we pass the conditional use?
No, we need to, the conditional use permit was drafted with the hours, meaning being blank. We need to fill them in this evening.
Okay.
But what the applicant proposed in the application was the 9 AM to 8 PM Monday through Friday, Saturday 9 AM to 8 PM, Sunday 10 to 5 PM. That was listed, noted in their application. That needs to, if you guys are okay with those hours, fine. If you wanna have a discussion, if you want to revise those, we will fill them in to the actual CUP.
Okay, is there anybody who would like to have some discussion concerning those hours?
Do you remember what the car lot hours were? I don't think they were that late, were they?
They were, well, they weren't open on Sunday at all.
I thought that he was like 7 in the evening.
Yeah.
It's a residential.
But it was, there were, I know, I'm gonna use the term appointment sales for lack of a better way of saying it. I know I saw him in there later, but I'm sure somebody made an appointment for that reason, which I don't know if we even discussed that on that CUP, but I get that. Working at another car dealer, it's the same kind of deal. If you can come in late, they'll stick around for you, and so. But his hours of operation, I never really knew what they were, because there were days there was nobody there. Yeah.
Does anybody feel that 8 o'clock is too late?
I kind of think it's a little late for, there's residential homes right next door. The residents, they had to pull into the residential neighborhood to get to the place. If I lived there, that would be my concern.
Well, I'm thinking about 8 o'clock, and I'm trying to think about young families and stuff like that, and that doesn't seem to be a big problem for me, but, you know, basically, I mean, this time of year, it's dark now, I mean, it's, yeah.
7:30?
Yeah, and so it's gonna be, but,
Well, if I had my way, it would be 9 to 5, but I recognize that cuts into people coming from work.
Right.
Wanting to purchase whatever it is that they're able to purchase there. I just think that, you know, because there's a certain amount of, I'm assuming that the doors are closed at 7, people aren't, you know, if you're in the door,
yeah, if you're in there, I
mean, are you ushered out at 7, or are you?
think you're thinking the same thing I am, crop an hour off the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
right,
7 o'clock
yeah.
instead of an 8.
You know, because it just, I just think that, you know, I'd like to crop 3 hours off, but I don't want to put the business out of business before it starts. So, is anybody for, you know, changing the hours from, let's say, 9 to 7? 9 in the morning to 7 in the evening?
I don't have a problem with that.
I mean, I just think there's a certain amount of coming and going that, no matter what, even if you say you're closing at 7, that, you know, people aren't out of the parking lot, or if by 8.
It's not like Northern Tool, they lock the doors at 7 o'clock, even if there's people in there. I've done that, I've been.
I don't know, I guess I just, you know, it is a commercial area and that's what it's meant for, retail sale.
Valid point, yeah.
And you know, yeah, there's a residential neighborhood, but that, people, when they moved in there, they know that was a residential neighborhood, you know.
They knew
So
that
that-
bank was there.
Yeah, they knew the bank was there, all the
Yeah.
businesses that go along with it along that road. That's my only point.
Yeah.
I guess, and if you're looking at it from a lighting perspective, it's probably more like coming across the road from the,
You know.
from the strip mall.
Cause you know, and I guess I look at it, you know, you got retail sale, you got the gas station across the street, you got people coming and going, there's a neighborhood back there, but, you know, that's just my opinion.
Well,
And I would imagine that you know, and I guess we could ask them if the sales, you know, that they're probably, the top of their sales will probably be towards later in the day from 4 o'clock till closing, I would imagine. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Mayor and council members, what I will suggest is that you guys just kind of keep that on the back burner, think about it. But let's open the public hearing and hear from anyone here on the CUP application.
Okay.
Some of their comments you may want to incorporate into some conditions of approval. After that public hearing is over, then we can certainly ask the applicant to come up and, if you have any questions for the applicant.
Okay.
Sounds good, thanks.
So I move that we open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to speak on this?
Dennis Lund, you got my address? Let's start off, maybe you can clear up a little confusion in my mind. We talked about a moratorium and passed it here a little while ago that talked about the sale of cannabis products. And now we're considering a conditional use permit allowing the sale of cannabis products at a particular address.
We tried to differentiate between the legislation that was passed in 2023, which deals with adult cannabis sales,
For lack of a better term, recreational cannabis,
right.
as opposed to CBD, which is a different animal. Yeah.
So, I mean, so the moratorium deals only with adult recreational marijuana, for lack of a better word.
I did not see that specific wording in the moratorium. I guess I should have read it more closely. I think members of the public, which I can't speak for them because I'm not authorized to do so, but I have a feeling the people who commented on the moratorium were thinking that with the moratorium in place, we would not be able to approve a CUP for a cannabis business.
Right. And
So
you
that's a
know,
lot of confusion, and I don't know
Right.
how we deal with that.
A lot of the people that spoke at that part of the public hearing were confused, I understand that, and I tried to make it clear to them that we were dealing with the most recent legislation that passed in 2023, dealing with, for lack of a better word, adult recreational marijuana. And that really they were being a little bit, they weren't speaking on the moratorium, they were speaking on the conditional use permit, basically, okay?
Right.
And I'm sorry if there was any confusion. I think most people that left, since most of them did leave, probably had the idea that they'd gotten their message across no matter what we were doing. And therefore, it was not necessary to repeat themselves, okay?
Okay, thank you, and I hope I'm not repeating myself.
No.
Now, that subject aside, let's talk about the lighting. I like what you're setting, your council setting, the hours sound reasonable to me. I'm not immediately adjacent to the property, but I'm kitty corner, catty corner, however you say that from it. With respect to the fence, a year or so ago, we put a CUP in place for a roofing company that's immediately adjacent to my location. They said they're gonna put up a fence. They did in fact put up the fence. However, the fence they put up is not what was described to the council. They chose to extend the fence and make it much longer. I don't have a problem with that, but the point being, they were allowed to change the character of what they were putting in without bringing it in front of the council, even though it was a condition of the use permit, that the fence met the characteristics of this side, that side, but not the other side. So as we do consider the fencing, perhaps we could put something in there that the fencing needs to be completed before the business commences, or some wording along those lines.
Thank you.
And is there any proposed limit on the amount of traffic that this business could have. And I realize in a retail business, I don't know how you do that, but given we're proximity to a state line, you know, there could be a situation where we would have quite a significant number of vehicles there shopping because they, for people shopping because they can't get it in their own municipality, they can't get it in their own state. And we could end up with potentially a lot of traffic and the problems that that would bring with respect to traffic control and so forth. So I have no idea how to crack that kind of a nut or any comments on how to do it, but that is a concern that it could be a very large number of customers, perhaps into the thousands per day, which great for the business owner, not necessarily so great for us trying to manage that as a community. Thank you.
Thanks.
Are there any other comments for the public hearing on the conditional use permit? Yes?
Mr. Mayor, one additional comment. In case it wasn't clear, I'm not in favor of approving a CUP for this location, for this business.
So, I would, at this time, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close it.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Now, consideration of resolution number 2023-09, application for a conditional use permit at 177 St. Croix Trail. Is there a motion that we, perhaps you would like to say something?
Well, let's have a discussion. Can we have a, or we'll let
Okay.
him talk and then we can have a
Yeah,
discussion.
why don't you say something?
Hi, so my name's Kanan Martin. I'm at 665 Quality Lane over in Lakeland. And I did apply for the CUP for the very controversial building that's going in right now, or use for a retail business. And I wanted to clear some things up, I think, first, just to put some of the residents at a little bit more of ease. I fully understand where people are coming from. Adult cannabis, for sure, is very new. And that concept can be scary, especially if people don't understand what that means, and especially if they don't know who the business owner is, and what the intention of the business can be. And I wanted to make it very clear that we are not pursuing the moving target of the 2023 adult legalized marijuana bill. We are pursuing the very firm target of the 2022 CBD bill. And to clarify some things for those who came up, I have just some excerpts from that bill that can maybe shed light on what it's actually saying. It's a very long bill, and what it does is it outlines what exactly can be sold in the state when it comes to cannabinoids. And in 2018, the federal government passed a Farm Bill Act that if you go over to Wisconsin now, you'll actually see that in effect, where they are selling, it's more or less the Wild West over there. They're selling Delta 8, Delta 9, Delta 10, HHC, HHCS, all these different mixtures that our 2022 bill actually does not allow for us to do. And so it's a more strict set of legislation here than it is across the border. So I understand the idea that people would come across, but they actually have access to more on that side. So people from Lakeland and Lakeland Shores and stuff go there. Another thing I wanted to bring up is the percentages and quantities of CBD and THC inside of things that are now legal, like gummies or beverages or other things like that. And so the bill outlines that that it will not contain more than 3.3% of any tetrahydrocannabinoid, that's a hard word to say, but any THC or CBD or things like that. There's no ability for it to go over 0.3%. This is a state mandate, and they actually send people out to test the products in these stores. And so we work directly with attorneys and subject matter experts who are involved with this law, as well as the state and the legislative process that revolves around this law. And so there's a lot of checks and balances in the products that are allowed to be at our stores, and they do get checked, and you will be balanced if you are out of compliance on any of those. So it's not up to the city, and the city can actually maybe take a calming breath because the state is very deeply involved in this. And then another thing is that the edible cannabinoid product must not contain more than 5 milligrams of any tetracannabinoid in a single serving. And it can't have a total of more than 50 per packet. And so that is actually something to praise the state of Minnesota about, because across the country, it's usually double. And so they've taken steps in their legislation to ease the citizens of the state into recreational CBD and cannabis by kind of restricting the quantities that are allowed farther than we've seen in other states, Colorado, California, etc. So I think those were important distinctions to make between recreational marijuana and the cannabis-based products that we are intending to sell, and that have been for sale across the state for a solid year now. Other than that, the business, we lived in Woodbury for multiple years. We moved recently over to, my wife over there, we moved recently to Lakeland, and I'm as involved as I can be in the Lakeland City Council and pushing them for a planning commission. I cared very deeply about the place that I live. I've got a child on the way. I have 2 others that are here. I do not wish to own a dispensary that represents a hangout for people who have given up. I much more would like to have a dispensary that represents a place that people who need the benefits that are delivered through cannabinoids can get them in a clean and a safe and a comfortable location. I think a lot of people think of a dispensary and they imagine lots of glass pieces and a trillion different types of smokables and a kid who can't really answer your questions because he may have been trying the product too much, and people hanging out outside, not just kind of loitering and things like that. And that's, I understand that, and that's what's portrayed in movies, and that's what people have seen in different places. That is not our intention whatsoever. I know that you have to take that at face value. There's nothing that we can prove with that right now, but we are very community focused. We look at these products because they help individuals with stress, anxiety, depression, PTSD even, all the way to seizures. And we find that these products do help the community. We want to be community focused. We understand the apprehension, but we do have open ears, and we are very willing to listen to any requests about I would hate if a business moved in next to me and didn't care what I thought, and I would never want to deliver that to another. And so I definitely appreciate the town coming out and giving their 2 cents on the matter. I am so sorry that it is a confusing topic, and I do want to just do my best to reassure everyone that we're looking to run a very professional, high-class cannabis business and nothing outside of that. So if the council or any others have questions for me, I am always willing to talk about this subject and want to push forward with however I can to make our business fit here inside of this city.
So I got a question. You purchased the building?
We are in that process.
Okay.
Yes.
And then, so are you required to have Minnesota state license with the dispensary or
Not under the 2022.
Okay.
2023, when the percentages go
Yep.
up and above and you start to get into the adult cannabis, then there's an entire process that, as you've seen, they've
Right.
started to outline, but without a Office of Cannabis Management, right?
Right.
It's a little bit of a moving target, so.
There's no ATF
Another
yet.
question, like, you know, you can go down to a candle store in Stillwater and buy some gummies.
Right.
And they got them right there in their display case, so that's basically the types of stuff you're gonna have, or I've seen them at liquor stores in our
Correct.
state.
Correct.
You know, it's all over the place.
Correct.
But this isn't as potent as the stuff you can get in Wisconsin, and correct?
Yeah, so the Wisconsin,
And they've had it how long over there?
2018.
Okay.
So if you go to, I mean, just in Hudson, if you shoot over to, I think there's like a Vape Pros and
Yeah, I've
things,
seen that.
You'll see they list
Yeah.
a number of acronyms that all have to do with these products. And if you look at the 2022 bill, there's a few, like, some of those are taken off, specifically Delta 8 and Delta 10
Yeah.
THCs.
So how many products are there available? I mean,
Thousands.
okay.
Thousands and thousands. But what's nice about the bill that Minnesota has worked through, and some I think of the most important legislation that's in that bill, is the products that are for sale here cannot resemble anything that is even looks like candy or could have anything that could be attractive to a child. If you go over to Wisconsin, you can see they literally have Nerd Rope that is filled with THC. And so, I mean, come Halloween, who knows what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's, there's important factors that are here from our 2022 bill, like the inclusion of statements that everything must have giant lettering that says not for children. Right. So there's all these kind of requirements down the path of how we can sell that are much more stringent than we see across the river.
Are you involved in any other businesses that basically sell the same type of thing that you'd be selling at 177?
No, I work with individuals who are and legislative, not legislative, I'm sorry, legal entities that deal in that realm right now, but this is our first true venture into our own. So the group and the team that I work with has more of the, I would say, the experience in actually the running of the store itself. But they're mainly based over on the other side of the Twin Cities. And so,
On the other side of what?
the Twin Cities. And so there's a little far for them to.
So do you plan on being kind of a hands-on, or are you actually gonna be there for most of the open hours? or some of
Yes,
them?
this would be primarily a family-run business. So my intention is to be more or less the general manager and within the facility as much as I can be. Similarly, I do have other businesses, and one of them I think would be deeply involved inside of that facility. I design and build mobile greenhouses, including units that go inside of your home. The idea actually started during the beginning of the pandemic, and it's mainly so that we could feed our family lettuce and tomatoes without having to worry about Minnesota winters and without having to go to the store and get stuff that flew here from California and is already bad. And so part of the bill currently, people are interested in the concept of growing their own marijuana as has been legalized, right? And so I have people who come up and ask me, how do I do that kind of thing? And because I teach people how to grow lettuce in your living room, there's kind of a direct correlation to, some of those efforts. And so involved in that, one of my businesses being teaching people how to grow plants and showing people how to use a passive hydroponic system. Eventually, I think that would be partially involved, but again.
Which is not a part of the CUP. I will
Okay.
not.
Yeah.
Thanks for keeping it on the straight.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And just one final thing for myself, you understand that, I'm sure that, when they come up with the rules for adult use recreational marijuana, that you're gonna be probably first in line, or second anyhow, to see if you can include that in your business plan. You understand that us giving you a conditional use permit for the products that you've explained to us that you would perhaps be selling, does in no way guarantee you,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
So
And I also want to say I agree with the moratorium. I'm not and against, I'm not opposed to that. I think that was the right choice. We need to understand how these laws work. And so, yeah,
So any further questions from anybody?
So when you say the hydroponic stuff is not in the conditional use permit, he can sell that without being in the conditional use permit, or that's something he still have to apply for?
as far as I've seen, that it's mason jars and it's little plastic.
So it's just it's included in the retail,
Mhm.
so that's fine? Okay.
Dennis?
Mr. Mayor, council, does this business fit the definition of an adult use business for the city ordinances? Since
I'm
it's-
gonna note that the public hearing has been closed.
Okay.
The application has been reviewed by your consulting planner per your city ordinances.
So I guess that answers your question. Anybody else have any questions?
Are you gonna have any online sales then?
We believe that we will attempt to do that, yes.
So I thought in the thing here, you mentioned something about the drive-through.
Correct.
Is that part of the conditional use permit? Okay.
Yes?
Yeah. Well, it was within the parking spot stuff, so I was just curious if that was part of the.
Sorry, there was another portion that was in there that also, with the time, the hours of operation, I think we had indicated the drive-through would just be open during those hours.
Correct.
And then you fairly confident competing with Wisconsin if they have higher dosages? And you talk about dosages, I mean, you could still buy 2 packs and it's gonna equal 1 pack at a different place.
Right. So that is a mindset that people do have about that. I can't disagree with you that it potentially is a workaround. I don't know if each product, if you add that much and you double it, if it's just a straight graph that way, or if your body can't incorporate more or less. Unfortunately, I don't have enough data on that specific act. But if I do believe that we will have a very good chance at competing with those businesses, because those businesses, I believe, are the opposite of the type of cannabis business that we're trying to open. They may have similar products, but the style of those businesses, I don't think that it is inducive for people who are interested in the beneficial effects of cannabis to go. I think it's for people who, there's a different style of business that's run there. I don't want to be rude, but that's just not the way that I think we want to operate. I'm looking to do more of a boutique shop. How about that?
And then what do you plan on doing for security?
So initially, we plan on installing a security system that includes cameras. Based on that, we may have to up it to a security guard who would be in the building. Outside of those things, I mean, of course, within the guidelines of lighting and things like that, I would want to make sure that the building is well lit, that there are eyes on, that there's no shrubbery or bushes that are kind of removing a view from the street when people drive by, things like that. I want to make it very open, very clear, very obvious when and who is in it.
I apologize, I'm not speaking.
And you're not on camera, so, Councilmember Hatton, I will just note that, as this evolves and as the state decides what they're gonna do, that absolutely may be a requirement, that these businesses have a security guard in place. We just don't know yet.
Right.
This type of business, a security guard is not required. It is perfectly legal, but I did wanna know, you have to be 21 to enter the store, and you are carded. And I didn't know that, in terms of how old you had to be to purchase, but it is the same as the liquor store alcohol. You have to be 21 to purchase any of these products.
Well, I've been out of state, I've been to plenty of the dispensaries, and they all get carded. They're not dumpy places, some of them have armed guards.
Yeah.
Some of them do online sales, so there's no, you wait, you schedule, you go in when you're gonna go, and I've never seen a dumpy one, or a seedy one.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's great.
yeah, it's just I guess the image of people, like you were saying earlier, is,
Yeah, I
Okay.
think there's confusion across the topic, and it doesn't help that we now have two bills that kind of compete against each other and say some of the same words but mean different things. And yeah, that there's a lot going on with this.
One thing I do want to add is, if this gets approved, we'll have to have a fire inspection with the fire department coming and doing a walkthrough, so that could change to the parameters of what they recommend also.
Understood, yes.
So-
And currently, the building is not sprinklered. I wasn't able to see in the ordinances if you had a square footage that required sprinkling, or
It's generally commercial buildings.
is it, just period?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Okay, any other questions? Wrap this up. So at this point, we close whatever public hearing we have here,
Oh, yeah, that was close.
right? And we're down to somebody bringing a motion and the
Are we
consideration.
changing the hours of operation? Is that, we?
Did you want me to?
because It's kind of up to us right now.
Just to speak on that, if I can say one thing real quick.
Yeah.
For the hours of operation, I understand the concern about vehicles pulling into a residential street and, you know, lighting up a house a little bit as they drive by it. But if there is a requirement for a fence to screen off most of that area, I wonder how necessary the hour change would be. Just,
I think the only thing that's concerned me about the hour changes is that things just don't come to a dramatic halt when the 8 o'clock hour arrives, okay? I mean, there's people still leaving the store with whatever they've purchased, talking in the parking lot, that type of thing, which you don't really have any control over.
Correct.
Okay? And it just seemed to me that if it was at 7, they'd be out of there by 8 for sure. You know, whereas if it's 8, they'll be out of there by 9 for sure. So,
yeah, I understand that statement. I mean, I would say that I don't want people hanging out in the
Right.
parking lot, so I would shoo them along, but.
but, you know, anyway, does anybody wish to, you know, discuss the hour thing? Because now's the time to do it.
I don't.
Tim, you're fine with the 8 o'clock hours?
yeah, I'm okay with 8 o'clock.
Okay.
A condition, Mayor and council members, a condition could be put in that something to the effect, and yes, it's very difficult to enforce, but a condition that all customers need to be off-site by 8:30 PM. He's gonna be there locking up.
Yep.
I honestly don't think he's gonna want
I don't
them
think
to
it's
hang
gonna
around.
be, yeah.
No.
Especially between November 1st.
Yeah.
Now,
But
three little
that's
kids.
certainly to ease that concern, and ease the concern of the neighbors, a condition could be put, everyone is off-site by 8:30 except the owner.
And we can review this, you know, down the road too.
Hmm?
We can review this down the road, can't we? On the
No.
CUP? or
No, not unless an amendment to the
Yeah.
CUP comes in.
Let's at least add that to it, okay?
So what I have at this point is, a condition we'll be adding regarding the fencing on the northeast side to Second Street needs to be completed.
Yeah, on the east side,
East side.
basically, yeah.
Just east side,
Yeah.
to Second Street,
Right.
Yeah.
okay? I have, certainly we can add a condition, it was your statement, Councilmember Schroeder, but, do you wanna add a condition that says the fire department will be doing an inspection?
Yeah, they're required to do an inspection, yeah.
Do we want to add a condition that the property, because it's commercial, has to be the in-ground sprinklers thing?
You're talking about fire protection.
Fire
sprinklers.
protection.
Yeah.
Fire protection.
Fire overhead.
Overhead.
Overhead,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I guess
So
we'd
that
have
would be
to,
required?
well, we'd have to leave that
We'd
up
have
to
to,
the-
we'd have to have, the fire department will determine
Okay,
that.
okay, alright.
Rob Corey will determine.
And then a condition that all Customers must be off the property, off the site by 8:30 PM. Wait a minute, no. 8:30 PM Monday through Friday, Saturday.
Do you just wanna put in half hour after closing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Then,
So
All
Monday through
off-premise, half hour.
Monday through Saturday's 9 to 8, correct? And then Sunday is 10 to 5.
Yep, half hour past closing, okay.
universal fit.
Got it. That's what I have for to add the conditions. On top of the conditions that are in the draft CUP.
So at this time, we're ready to vote on this, is that correct?
I will make a motion to approve the conditional use permit as amended.
Got it?
I'll second it. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? It passes.
Thank you.
We have just a couple of other matters. One is the consideration of the 2023 spray patching. This basically deals with the west end of Second Street North, as well as the north end of Lakeland Shores Road.
I did receive an email from the city engineer who indicated he is recommending the spray patching of the north end of Lakeland Shores Road and the west end of Second Street North. He did receive a quote that was included in your packets, and it's before you to consider. If you want to get this done this year, I would recommend that you do approve that.
We have a motion to approve the spray patching.
I'll make a motion to approve the spray patching for the cost of $36.75.
I'll second the motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving right on to consideration of treasurer appointment. As usual, Kim has come through for us and has found someone that we're all familiar with, our usually chief judge for our election, Joan, is it
Helt.
Helt? And I know she's been working with Neil a little bit, and as he indicated, she actually prepared some of the documentation that was presented to us earlier for the budget for the year of 2024. She's very reliable, has lived in the neighborhood for a long time. Somebody like to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion to appoint treasurer appointment for Joan
Help. Got
Joan
it.
Held.
Joan Helt.
I'll second the motion.
And that's H-E-L-D-T, is it? Okay. Any discussion? And I assume it would be at the same rate, monthly rate. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And moving on to 5, staff updates, city clerk, anything?
No, I will just note that I did receive a couple emails, and because of the kind of confusion with the public hearing, I did not add that to the public record, but they will be in the minutes.
Okay.
And basically, all three of them were opposed to the business of the adult cannabis, so.
Okay.
But I will include that for the record.
And just for the record, I did receive several emails myself, 2, I believe. Okay. Mayor and council reports, Councilmember Schroeder.
I just have a couple things. We are gonna be, I don't know if some of the residents got the note that the mayor handed out. So the street where you guys come is gonna be redone in the next week. On First Street, Second Street, Vision Street, and Fourth Street, or Quinlan up to Fourth Street. So that'll be
Road
something.
construction season.
Yes.
It's only gonna take a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we've heard that story before.
And then, I don't know if we've had that discussion or if we can, the mayor and if Ken's compensation, if we need to review that. Okay.
Budget's been approved.
Well, down the road, we wanna make sure we take care of you. So, and that's it I have for now.
Councilman Wilson,
I have nothing.
Mr. Hatton.
No, nothing at this time.
Just, I did because I felt like there was the need to at least alert the citizens of Lakeland Shores that, who border the, or whose homes border the roads that are going to be repaired in the next week, starting September 11th through the 18th, that they not be taken by surprise and that they be assured of the fact that, you know, the mill and overlay, the milling part of it can be driven on at any time, as well as they've indicated to me, although it's hard for me to believe, that you can actually get on the new asphalt as soon as you want. So I made that clear. I probably talked to 60 places I left notices with. Probably I talked to at least 48 or so homeowners that were home the other night. And everybody was very glad that the work was finally getting done. And they seem to be, I think it'll go smoothly. I noticed that they put out the porta potties today, at least in our Lakeland Shores Road they did. And hopefully, if you hear anything or hear any complaints, please feel free to contact me. But I'm expecting it to go flawlessly, as usual, as things always do in this town. And I would, but truly, if you hear any complaints, that type of stuff, and I'm sure we'll have some where the road butts up to somebody's driveway that they're not quite satisfied with. But with that in mind, I don't have anything further to add, other than, as usual, it's my pleasure to be here this evening. And at this time, I'd like to have a motion to,
I make a motion, we close the meeting.
and I'll second it.
the motion.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
And let it be known that it is 7:52.
Jeez, went into overtime.
I know, really.